2 years ago, I broke off my engagement and left my fiance. It was literally the hardest thing I've ever done, and I genuinely, at the time,
Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for clicking. Kindly subscribe to this beautiful channel. So in today's video, we'll be talking about why so many women are calling off their engagement. This is a big emotional decision and there are a lot of layers to it. Whether you're engaged, considering engagement, or just curious, let's talk about it. What's really going on behind these decisions? So I've put the videos together so that you watch and learn. I'll be back to share my true sense.
2 years ago, I broke off my engagement and left my fiance. It was literally the hardest thing I've ever done, and I genuinely, at the time, did not think I was going to survive or ever be okay again. Like, I genuinely thought my life and my happiness was over. I had moved to England and given up my job, my health insurance, and my house. So when I was moving back to America, I genuinely had nothing. And the only money I had in my bank account was because I was on unemployment because of the pandemic. When I tell you I was at the lowest of the low in my life, I was at the lowest of my low. I genuinely did not see how my life would ever take a turn for the better. My fiance had been cheating on me again. I was moving back to America after moving to England to get married. It was one, embarrassing, and two, I was going back with genuinely nothing. Years ago today, I made genuinely the hardest decision of my life and left, and I can't tell you, it was the best thing I ever did for myself. The past 2 years, I have moved to New York City, met some really amazing people, made some of the most genuine friendships, become way closer with my sisters than I ever was before. Somehow in the last 2 years, I have quadrupled my income. A career in marketing that I never thought I would have. I have a platform on TikTok that I never thought I would have. I'm genuinely traveling the world. I'm in Guatemala right now. I was in Peru and Colombia the last 2 months, and next month I'm in Mexico. And in January, I'm going to fucking Africa. 2 years ago today, when I decided to leave, I genuinely thought my life was over. I did not fucking think that I was going to survive. I genuinely thought I was going to die without this man. What was actually killing me was being with this man. That relationship was killing me. Genuinely, I was the most miserable I've ever been in my life. And now 2 years later, I am living the most amazing life that I never thought was possible for myself. And if you're in an abusive relationship and you're unhappy, I'm telling you, there is happiness outside of those relationships. There is happiness outside of abuse. There is happiness after those long relationships. Even if it's not abusive and you're just not happy, there is so much happiness outside of those relationships. Trust your gut. There is so much life and so much happiness outside of relationships. I've been single for 2 years. I never thought I would be single. This is the longest I've been single since I was literally a child. And God, I am the happiest I've ever been. 2 years ago today, I just needed somebody to tell me it was going to be okay, and I am here to tell you it is more than okay. My worst days now do not compare to my best days with him. My saddest days here are better than my happiest days with my ex. I promise you, life gets better after abuse. Trust yourself, babe. Life is so good.
I was in a 10-year relationship. I was engaged for the last 2 years of it, and 2 weeks prior to the wedding, we broke everything off. It wasn't that I realized in those 2 weeks that we weren't compatible, including lifestyle plus other issues. It was that it was a long time coming, and it took me a really long time to choose myself until I chose myself. I kept thinking and convincing myself that things would get better, that as time went on, he would change. And that's the thing that I learned, that people don't change for other people, they change for themselves. And I was dating him and being with him for his potential and what he could be, instead of just seeing who he was and who he was showing me right then and there. To give you guys a little background, we were college sweethearts, so we were growing together, and then it wasn't until we graduated college that we started living together that I saw more of who he was, that we started growing apart. And that's when the issues started coming up. And what I can say is that when you don't have peace of mind, that's how you know that it's your time to leave. And I ignored my intuition for a really long time until I didn't.
Don't ask me what has come over me, because I want to talk about this finally. Calling off my engagement, dealing with the repercussions at work. I have not talked about this enough, and it's something that I finally feel ready to start talking about because it's so important. I'm gonna take you back to summer of 2023 when everything became very real, even though I had been dealing with it for a few months. I was recording the Dear Media Dream Bigger podcast with Sif, and I remember Sif looking down at my hand and noticing that my ring was not on my finger during the podcast, and her eyes kind of jumping back, and me realizing in that moment that everything was about to become very real. Even though I had been living in a hotel, and if you look back even at that day in the life, it's very evident I wasn't at my house. Take your time. I told people in stages. I wanted everyone that I cared heard it from me to hear it from me. And then after a while, I got so emotionally drained from talking about it that I actually gave people permission to tell people, not the details, but just that the relationship was over. Even to this day, I'm still telling people at work, and I always just tell people this is the best decision. I'm so much happier. I really don't want to talk about it, but at the end of the day, this is my life and that is your life, and they are not in that relationship. They don't know what it's like. Broken engagement is just a drawn out, more annoying breakup. There is not the same legal repercussions that there are as a divorce, so people should be commending you for your bravery. If I had 2 pieces of advice that I could leave you with, a broken engagement doesn't break you, and always
your girl is engaged. And when I say we've been together since we was like 16 years old, we're 24, 25. In a blink of an eye, we're gonna be 30. So he literally had the ring for about a year and a half. He did went over to my parents' house to get their blessing, showed them the ring and everything like that. He did express to them how much he wanted to marry me and everything like that. When I say he had everything all planned out, I do remember in that year we was going through a really tough time. Instead of going on a vacation, we took the responsible route and decided to move out of state. I was generally looking for a toenail clipper, and he normally keeps them in his bag. And I know you guys see where it's going, right? Opening up his bag and I see a little ring box in there. And I was like, should I be nosy, open it up, or should I just pretend I don't see it? But I am sorry, I cannot hold a secret to save my life. I was smiling, acting a little weird. He kind of had an idea of like what the heck was happening, but he wanted to make sure if that was the case. He just simply got on one knee and just proposed to me right in the kitchen. So we just had our own moment to ourselves. He had his own plan of how he wanted to propose to me, and I just feel like I messed it up, you know? That is not the reason why we called off the engagement. Just certain things we want to work on with our relationship. Honestly, glad it was a mutual agreement and that he respects how I feel. It wasn't his ideal way to propose to me because he had a set plan of how he wanted to do it. That wasn't my expectations of how I wanted to get proposed to. If someone was to ask us if we're engaged, we do say yes. And because we want to redo that moment, I simply
So that's a video, guys. So I'm just here to share my true sense, like what I think about today's video. Why are so many ladies calling off their engagements? Okay, so I've seen a lot of video going on TikTok. I was like, why not sharing it, my lovely people, so that we talk and discuss about it. So let's get straight to it. Engagements are often seen as the ultimate milestone in relationship. You're talking now. You're taking that next big step toward marriage. It's exciting. It's romantic, but it's also serious. And for a lot of women, this stage, this is where the reality of the relationship really sets in. The engagement period is not just about wedding planning. It's about evaluating your future with someone. Okay. So there's also speaking honestly. That's one major reason. Okay, women call off engagements, red flags they can no longer ignore. Sometimes love blinds you to the problems in a relationship, but when you are engaged and staring down the path to forever, those little issues you start to look like bigger. Maybe it's a lack of respect, trust issues, or even control. Ladies, if your gut is telling you something off, don't ignore it. Okay, so listen to your gut feeling or instincts. Okay, another, this is the major one also. So what your gut is telling you, this is a tough one because you love the person, but when you sit down and think about your future together, you will realize you are on completely different pages. Maybe you want kids, they don't. Maybe your career ambitions don't align, whatever it is. These deal breakers, and it's better to face them now than after. Okay, so you have to be very truthful to yourself, tell yourself about these things. So there's also another thing. Sometimes calling off an engagement is not about what's wrong with the relationship, but about what's happening within. A lot of women realize during this time that's they're not ready for marriage, or that's when they need to focus on their personal growth first. Society puts so much pressure on women to settle down by a certain age, but guess what? It's okay to sit back and stay, I'm not ready. Okay. So there is also this thing we should not forget: financial issues. Money problems are one of the leading causes of stress in relationship. Maybe you find out your partner is terrible with money or has hidden debts. These are not just financial issues, they're trust issues. And trust is the foundation of any strong marriage. So marriage needs to start with truthfulness, okay? Another here heartbreaking is the real reason engagement are carrying off is infidelity. Finding out that your partner has not been faithful is devastating, but also clear a sign that this person is not ready for the kind of commitment marriage require. Lady, if someone shows you who they are, believe them. Okay, don't wait say no, they're going to change. Someone who's already grown, it's very hard for them to change. This is what I'm always saying. But here's the thing, I really want you to realize, or calling off engagement is not a failure. It takes incredible strength and courage to recognize that something is not right and making the decisions to walk away. Staying in a situation that doesn't deserve you or that's not making you happy, it's a failure, guys. Okay? So, what's the takeaway here? If you're engaged and starting to have doubts, take the time to reflect, talk to your partner, seek counseling is needed, and most importantly, listen to yourself. Marriage is a lifelong commitment. It's better to pause now than regret later. Okay? So, you guys, if you're engaged, if you're in a relationship, serious relationship, or if you're planning just to get married, you're not even engaged, you need to look for the red flags. Always choose the right partner. When you choose the right partner, always observe what they're talking about. What they're talking about should be matching with their actions. They shouldn't be parallel. Don't be blinded because you just listen to the word. When someone tells you something, they need to act on it. Shows that this person is into me. Okay. And if some people show them their true colors, like before you even get married, there's already infidelity in the relationship. Please sit back, think about it. Are you going to handle this situation? Because some people, that's the truth. This is what they really are. What more if they marry you? They're going to mistreat you, they'll do whatsoever to you. If they're over controlling, yes, at first it can be cute that they're controlling you and all that, but becomes so irritating when you realize they're using control over you. Okay, so you have to be very careful, choose wisely, and always look. Okay, yeah. So that's my thinking. I don't know what you think about today's video, guys. What's your take about calling off the engagement, because this is the final decision. Like, this is a big decision. Someone can't just wake up and start making these decisions. Means she has seen something in this man which is not correct, because some men that just walking red flags, I tell you. Okay, so yeah, when you don't pay attention, you'll cry in marriage, because marriage is a lifetime thing, and you'll be depressed. Next, you start thinking of getting divorced. Okay, and no one who needs to pass through that. Thank you for watching. Bye bye. See you in the next episode.